Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to a brand new series called Albums Worth Exploring. So I thought it'd be fun to gather up some albums that are either, lesser known, maybe they're very underrated, maybe they just got overlooked at the time when they came out, sort of a thing, and maybe they're just albums that don't get a lot of attention within a more famous person's catalog, the bigger artists, but they've always got those albums that are the lesser known ones. And so I thought we should take a look back at some albums like those, and we'll see where we go with this sort of thing here. But I thought it'd be a lot of fun, and we'll kind of do it in order of genre, and we'll kind of move through the years of great albums that fit within those that may be lesser known, underrated, kind of gems that are just hidden there. So also, this video series here was actually started as part of a members only thing, and as you guys know, the memberships didn't really pan out. I put that on hold. We're not going to do that at this time, but I didn't want to let this series kind of languish in obscurity and not get seen, because I think it's a lot of fun here. And so I'm going to bring it on over to the regular part of the channel for everyone to check out here, and we'll go through with that. But before we dive into it here, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like. All those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with Albums Worth Exploring, this brand new series that we're going to start right now. First one, maybe not so hidden. I don't know. It kind of depends on how well you know this person, being a big person, but I'm sure it's one of their lesser albums that most people explore, sticking with the heyday era of an artist. So in this case, Joe Walsh, his 2012 album, Analog Man. So I say, maybe a lot of you guys know it because if you're diehard fans of Joe Walsh or the Eagles, then maybe you know this because it is the last album he put out. But it's a decade old at this point, and it's not like the popular stuff that he released in the 70s or even into the 80s, so maybe you guys haven't explored it. Maybe you're just sticking with albums like The Confessor and different ones, with Life's Been Good and so forth and whatnot. This one here, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the best album he ever did. And I know that's saying a lot. The other albums I felt like had some big hits, charting, stuff on it. And that's great, but never was there an album that from start to finish, I loved everything on it. Whereas in this case, I have to say that about this album here. And maybe that's because this album was the first solo album released where I was really deep into him, kind of a thing. And so obviously my interests on things are going to have to do with when I came into it and so forth. And I'm sure you guys may love your 1970s era Joe Walsh and so forth. But I am saying this album here, I think, is really, really good. The song Analog Man is sort of like a, play on some of the other things that he has done. This one here being, he's saying, he's not getting into the technology and everything that's out there. And I think sometimes we all feel like that. But Lucky This Way is basically a continuation of Life's Been Good. And if nothing else, just check that out. Track number 3 on here, Lucky That Way, and see if that just doesn't bring back great memories. So Joe Walsh, Analog Man, 2012, definitely recommend that. So now that comes from a 2012 era, but I consider him a classic rock sounding artist, 70s era sounding band. So we are going to move into new wave of British heavy metal sounding artists, even though this came out a little bit later in the 80s. Stand Up and Fight by Quartz. Quartz, being a new wave of British heavy metal band, although they started in 1977, where their debut album got reissued in 1980, and I think this is 81. Their claim to fame, though, with that 1977 album is that it had Jeff Nichols, who would later go on to be a sideman with Black Sabbath. The band very much sounding like Black Sabbath, even having Tony Iommi produce some of their stuff and so forth. If you like later era Black Sabbath and you want more of that sound, check out Quartz. In particular, check out this album here, Stand Up and Fight. Really, really good. Fan of Dio, another good reference for this sort of stuff here. Stand Up and Fight, the opening track on here. I like the second song, Charlie Snow. Not sure what that's in reference to, but I do like it. just a great album from start to finish of that new wave of British heavy metal style sound and Black Sabbath sound and so forth. And they're a band that just kind of runs under the radar. They've never really gotten their due, despite Jeff Nichols going on and being a sideman for Black Sabbath. He never really became a full-fledged member of Black Sabbath, although he should have been. He did get listed, but it's always kind of arguable whether he was a member or not a member. So, all right. Now moving on into just good old 80s hard rock, Crown of Thorns. Again, this band came later. I think their first album was 1991. This one here is 2008, called Faith. Really good. If you don't know who Crown of Thorns are, their frontman, Gene Beaver, was part of the punk movement with the early 1980s group Plasmatics. And this does not sound like that, but that's where he started. And then Gene Beaver went on and he played with Little Steven and he wrote stuff with Kiss, both Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and whatnot. But he didn't really get off the ground on his own thing until Crown of Thorns. But this 2008 album here, in my opinion, is the best thing they've ever done. And I know, again, you guys might argue with me on that, but I'm just saying these later era albums are some of the ones that really stand out to me. And I think you should check it out if you like good 80s hard rock. Despite it being recorded in 2008, fits right in there. Great guitars on that. Then we move on with some glam metal and Kane Roberts, Saints and Sinners. Kane Roberts, if you're not familiar with him, played with Alice Cooper for these two albums, Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell. So he plays on both these albums. He's on the tours. That stuff was more metal. But by the time he records this, which is actually a second solo album, he partners up with Desmond Child for co-writing of all these things. And much the way that Alice Cooper's Trash with Desmond Child, if you're a fan of that album, you're going to love this. If you're a fan of Rat's Detonator, you're going to love this. If you're not a fan of that or you don't like Desmond Child, then you probably want to skip it. But if you are a fan of that stuff like I am, this is an album for you. It is so good. There's also co-writes on here with John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and other artists, making it just even that much better. Just kind of a who's who of artists and whatnot. And unfortunately, it just kind of came out and did a whole lot of nothing. I think it was 1991. Looking for the date real quick. Yeah, 1991 on here. Probably came out towards the end of 91 when Nirvana had already broken. Don't remember. But yeah, these things just kind of ran under the wire and really deserves a second look. If you've never checked out the Kane Roberts solo album here, do yourself a favor and check that out. All right. And of course, after glam metal, we break into grunge. So I'm going to show you an album you're probably not familiar with. Maybe you heard of the group, Malfunction. And this one here called Monument. And so Malfunction was the first band that had Andrew Wood as frontman. Andrew Wood, who you probably know through Mother Love Bone as the frontman. And unfortunately, Andrew Wood passed away and died right before the release of Mother Love Bone, or maybe just thereafter, and it just really killed the momentum that they had. Ultimately, Mother Love Bone becomes Pearl Jam. So we got a lot of greatness out of it, and that obviously wouldn't have happened if Andrew Wood survived, so to speak. But of course, we don't know what would have happened to Mother Love Bone. Maybe they would have been as big as Pearl Jam. We don't know. But Malfunction was a band before that, and after Mother Love Bone and all that sort of stuff, they released an album from Malfunction, a collection of things, in 1995. But it really wasn't an album that they had set out to record and so forth. It was a compilation of things. Now, his brother, Kevin Wood, that was part of that, has since gone back in, not only reviving Malfunction, which is what this is here, but he has gathered up lyrics and things that were written with Andrew Wood. And he brings in Sean Smith, and I think they actually have a new singer now, but Sean Smith of Satchel and Brad, to sing for them. This is really, really good. This is on the EMP label, which is David Ellefson, formerly of Megadeth. That's his label. So you can just kind of see all the quality that we got going on here. You know, the connections to Mother Love Bone, the grunge movement, Satchel, Brad, David Ellefson, having belief behind this, signing to his own label and so forth. Really, really good stuff, Malfunction. I highly recommend it. So there you go. I mean, if you're into some classic rock, 80s rock, glam metal, or heavy metal from the new wave of British heavy metal, or alternative. There's a little something for everyone in this mix. Albums that you should go out and explore, at least that I would recommend it. So hopefully you enjoyed this first episode of Albums Worth Exploring, and if this does well, we'll continue this on as a new series here, hopefully turning you on to some new music along the way. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.